Alright everyone, so in that previous video we saw that we were getting an aberration because of either added contrast or the lens just didn't react properly. We've got the same kind of problem in this image as well, and in either or any kind of photograph, to get rid of this sort of thing, what you do is basically select out the edge. So we're going to select out this area, and then we basically just move some pixels down using a particular blending mode, and it cleans it right up for us. Now, I want to do this because the alternative would be cloning around the edge, and the problem with that is that then I can lose the sort of dynamic of the edge. If this was tack sharp, it might look okay, but because it's out of focus because of the depth of field, it wouldn't look okay. It wouldn't work in this situation. So the solution here is to take your handy dandy lasso tool, and you can only do this at one or with one plane at a time. So I can only do his shoulder once here. I can't select like this portion of his shoulder and then that portion of his shoulder and do it all at once. I have to do these separately if I wanted to get rid of this and get rid of that. Now, honestly, this looks more like wrapping light to me, and it separates him from the background, whereas this looks like some kind of aberration and it's not helpful. So I want to get rid of this line. I'm going to leave that line, that white. And to do that, again, what you do is you just take your lasso tool, make a selection of this area, and what I'm thinking about when I do this is that I want to make sure I get a little bit of the object that I'm trying to help to fix, and then I want to make sure I get more, 2 or 3 times the amount of the background, right? So you'll notice that in terms of the percentages, this is probably a quarter, and then this is the rest of it. Right, so I'm going to make that selection. It doesn't have to be very clean, as you can see, it's not that great. And then I'm going to hit Command J. What that does is it just duplicates whatever I had selected into its own layer. So layer 3 is going to be what we're going to be cleaning this with. Now, wow, if I could speak. To clean this, I click on my layer, so make sure that it's highlighted. I use the Move tool, so you can either use the V on your keyboard, or if you move into the upper left-hand corner, the little cursor with the crosshair, that's going to give you your Move tool. And the reason I want to use that is because I'm going to end up moving these pixels. Now, I'm not going to use my mouse or my cursor. I'm actually going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard. And before I do that, before I start moving, I'm going to move back over into my layer 3. I'm going to change my blending mode from normal to darker color. What this is going to do for us as I start moving my pixels down is it's only going to show the darker colors from the layer. Right, so now, as I pull the layer, the pixels that are darker up here down, it fills in that line for me. But because it sees that this is a nice hard edge and this is darker than the background, it's going to retain our edge as we want it. So I'm just going to keep moving that down, maybe move it a couple ticks left. Now, the other issue that I'm going to run into is that now I'm doubling up these pixels. Right, so the intersection of our selection is now sort of messing up our feel. So we want to get rid of that. And to do that, we mask. So I move back into the lower right-hand corner of our layers palette, click Add Layer Mask, and then we want to conceal. So I go to my brush tool. I use black to conceal. Notice my foreground color on the left of our interface. I just mask that out. And now if we look at our before and after, we go from having that edge to having it nice and clean. And then when we zoom out, it will be far less noticeable. Right? Still there a little bit, but we fixed it nicely. A little bit more subtle. And if we needed to, we could even darken those pixels down just a touch by using a layer, a curves layer or a levels layer, and darkening the tones just a touch, maybe even taking the highlights down just a little bit. And then to really fix this so that I'm only affecting layer 3, I can associate my curves layer, or I can link my curves layer by holding the Option button down in between the 2 layers. So if I take my cursor and I hold it over the 2 layers, hit the Option button and click, now that curves layer is only going to affect that layer 3. So now when we turn that on and off, you can see we've gotten rid of that, but we still have our nice sort of out of focus edge.